Welcome to the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. My guest today is Carole Levy. Carole is an artist and chef. She is the founder of the Veggie Vanguard, a company offering whole food, plant-based services, resources, and recipes free of salt, oil, and sugar. Carole is a culinary educator for plant-powered Metro New York, the Marlene Meyerson JCC, Manhattan, University of New Mexico Towels, and a Food for Life instructor for the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. She currently divides her time between New York City and Taos, New Mexico. Her desire is to encourage and inspire people to take chances in the kitchen, cook without fear, be open to creativity, and embrace delicious, nutrient-dense food combinations for a healthier lifestyle. Stick around. I want to introduce her to you. Hi, Carole. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Nancy. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. And you are from New York, where I'm from, so I'm happy to meet another New Yorker here in New Mexico.
Oh my God. And I'm so happy to meet you because I'm trying to settle in New Mexico.
So first of all, let's start with, how did you come to veganism?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Maybe it was a long time in coming, you know. I was a vegetarian for, I think, 25 years. And I had always thought about being a vegan, but I really hung on to, oh, you need that protein. Oh, you need to have that little side thing. And I just wasn't quite ready to ever give it up. And then a lot of things happened. I was having a big skin issue and no dermatologist was able to figure it out. And they said, well, we'll put you on, my naturopath said, we'll put you on an elimination diet. And I remember like digging my heels in and thinking, oh gosh, she's going to take away nightshade vegetables from me, the things I love. And she's going to, you know, so I went through all that with her, but digging my heels in. And then I was very lucky. And I went and I saw Dr. Barnard give a lecture at the JCC in Manhattan. And suddenly a big light bulb went off in my head because he talked about cow's milk. And suddenly it was like, oh my God, I can't drink milk anymore. I can't eat cheese anymore. Like I literally, it was like I had been contemplating it for a long enough time, but it wasn't in even the naturopath. I couldn't come off dairy. I just couldn't do it. I just wouldn't. And I felt like I've already given up meat. How could I give up dairy? And then when Dr. Barnard kind of explained about the cow and how they impregnate it, his little illustrations, his description, I was just like, oh my God, I can't have any more milk anymore. I can't have any, like, so suddenly I thought, okay, that's done with that. And then within weeks from that, the organization called Plant Powered Metro New York that I actually ended up working for, they were beginning to form and they were starting a 21-day jumpstart, literally like 3 weeks after that Dr. Barnard lecture. So I signed up for that and I thought, you know, if I can't eliminate things for 21 days and I just can't do it, well, then I'll go back to my old ways. But because this was structure within a community and we were going to have a mentor and so it was all about timing, you know, because I always believe you think about it for a really long time and maybe you think you're ready, but when you're ready, you're ready.
I get that. And you know, for me, one of the hardest thing was milk. I thought I'd die if I give up milk. And guess what? I didn't die. And I'm glad that I gave up milk. It never really sat well in my stomach, but because we've been told over and over, milk is good for you, not, you know, I believed it. I kept drinking it, and it made a big difference when I stopped.
We're the only mammal that drinks another mammal's milk. You know, it was just like, and like I said, Dr. Barnard said so many things to me that light bulb went off in my head in a big way. And I'm like, oh, now I really understand what I need to do, you know, but, and the cheese thing too, I kind of really, really love cheese. And I thought I only eat a little bit of it. But when I made the switch for that 21 days, I had a little bit of a detox, which was really overwhelming to me. Actually, for almost 5 days, I had this detox, and I thought it was going to be easy peasy going from vegetarian just to like getting rid of, but I had detox. And I really had the support with a mentor telling me, you're going to be okay, you know? And then I started eating even more vegetables and even more beans than I had eaten like the last 25. Like I felt like everything opened up for me somehow. Like instead of people always say, oh, you eat so little. I'm like, are you kidding? When I became a vegan, the world of food opened up for me, opened. It didn't close. There was no door that closed. It was like suddenly I could have as much fruit as I wanted, as much vegetables as I wanted, as many beans as I wanted. And that all sounded good, you know, because over the years I tried Weight Watchers. I always felt like, oh, I have to watch my carbs. And suddenly I didn't have to watch anything if I just ate all those things.
And I'm with you on that, because before I went vegan, I wasn't really that crazy about food. I mean, food didn't really sit well in my stomach. So I was like, but when I went vegan 9 years ago, now I love food, because is what you said. It opened me up to so many different vegetables and fruits and grains that I had not ever experienced before, that now I love vegan
Exactly.
food.
Exactly. And I just feel like I got to eat more of those things. And, you know, like I always felt like I had a plate of, you know, something dairy, or I did eat a little bit of fish at, you know, just once in a while. So I always felt like I had that protein on the plate, right? But then once I got rid of that idea that you needed protein and that there was protein everywhere, that, you know, that, and that we don't need that much. There's nobody ever says we're protein deficient. Do you know? Like, not in this country, you know? You know, so anyway, so I started to feel better. And I remember seeing Dr. Barnard, like literally like maybe 2 months later. And I said, Dr. Barnard, I am so feeling the best I've ever felt. And I feel like I'm practically on the moon every day. I have that much more energy than I've had ever. And he goes, oh, Carole, stay on this earth. We need you here. So
that's awesome. And now let's talk about, you do some culinary education online for different organizations. Let's talk about that.
Okay, sure. So after I did the 21-day Jumpstart program, I was participating in that 21-day program, and we had a chef in there that was a Food for Life instructor. And as they were teaching, I was trying to keep my mouth shut about how much I knew about food, because I had been a professional for 11 years. I put myself through college and in a restaurant business. And so I had been in the food business. So I was always trying to keep my lips zipped when somebody else was teaching us how to become a vegan. How do you get the things you need? So within, I don't know, not before the program even finished in the 21 days, I was up at the counter teaching people how to make substitutions, so shortly after that, I was like, this is my calling. My calling is that I am an educator. I had gone to school in my 20s to be a teacher, to be an artist, and to teach painting. And I thought, you know what, after all these years, I really have the desire to teach. But what I know like the back of my hand and what I love the most is eating. And I could see clearly how to make substitutions in recipes. And I started teaching myself things because I wasn't willing to let go of my favorite recipes, whether they were my traditional Jewish recipes in my own home, or whether they were just New York Times recipes that I was reading. I was not going to give up the things that I knew. So I quickly started making those substitutions, and then just went into teaching. And where was I teaching first? There's an organization called Plant Powered Metro New York, and they're community of volunteers actually that empower people and kind of give them the support to make the change, to show that disease can be prevented and empower people to a healthier living. So I became their first, that organization was just forming. They just became 3 years old. And so I started teaching. I was their first culinary educator. Now we have like dozens of people in our organization that teach. So Plant Powered was my first, and I teach remotely all the time. And then once I started that same year, I got into a program with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which is based, as you know, in DC. And it too is a teaching program, and I'm a Food for Life instructor. So we teach courses that are 1, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, like series of classes that are all built around preventative disease. So that could be preventing diabetes, managing your weight, helping and treat, cancer. So there's a lot of different kinds of body and your balance, and they're all part of Dr. Barnard's programs and books that he's written. He's built full curriculums. So I'm one of, there are Food for Life instructors all over the world. And so I'm very thrilled to be like an ambassador. And I've watched, and I teach a lot of those classes, and I've watched people reverse their diabetes and reverse their blood pressure. So, people are on medications for blood pressure and they come off those medicines. It's amazing. It is true. Food is medicine, right?
It's true. And now, can you tell me, you have your own website, the Veggie Vanguard, where you have some videos of classes you've taught. Yeah. And other things. So tell us about that business.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what happened was, as I was starting that year, that was 2019, right before the pandemic, I had not only started teaching, but I was starting to appear on I was Chef AJ. She was very supportive to me, and I had met her, and I had been a prep cook for her at the JCC when she came from Los Angeles to New York. And I met her, and before I knew it, she was inviting me to her show. And then right shortly after her show, it was like everyone needed to get a hold of me. Like there was suddenly everyone, as I was teaching in a very short period of time, people were saying, how do we get a hold of you? Where do we find your recipes? So I made a business called the Veggie Vanguard, and I made a website, and I put as many recipes as I possibly can. And I put all the demos that I do on that website. And I offer all the different kinds of services, because I do teach one-on-one sometimes. I do teach at corporations. Sometimes they want to have a program for healthy eating. So as many things as I can possibly do to educate is my goal, because I believe that you can't do all this by yourself. It's if you can, but it's really hard. The support of community is everything.
Most definitely. And one of the things that I'm really happy about is that you are going to be doing a cooking demo at the upcoming Red and Green Veg Fest, Albuquerque, on August 20th. And I can't wait.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be part of it, because I know the Veg Fest happens all over the United States, and they happen in all the cities. And when I discovered that you and were organizing that, I was excited I'm very thrilled to be part of it and look forward. And I've been thinking, what are we cooking? I'm always, what are we cooking? And I also do a once a month free demo online for Plant Powered Metro. So once every Sunday, I'm on YouTube, and it's every month. And the Sunday, it's always a Sunday. It's always at 5 o'clock Eastern time. And you can go to my website to find when those times are. But I teach, and people get the recipes free. So it's a pretty great thing. And I have now a little bit of a following. So I'm very happy about that, because you get to connect with people, and that's what it's all about.
That is great. And you know, one of the things that you do have that I know that I do, well, before COVID, I was doing a Cooking with Compassion cooking demo monthly at Natural Grocers, which I'm hoping will restart again here shortly. But anyway, one of the things that people always asked me for were Jewish recipes.
Ah, yes.
You know, because
That's
they're like,
interesting. There's a lot of Jews in New Mexico. It's surprising, but there are.
so now I know that I have a resource in you.
Yes, yes. And something also, Nancy, that we haven't spoken about, but you know, something that a lot of people are aware of, but maybe, or maybe some people don't know, is that there is something called SOS free. And that is really something that when I did that 21-day jumpstart, they kind of asked us to try to do that. And they didn't make us, but they said, try to observe eating no sugar, no oil, no salt. And so when I went into that program, it was a severity for me, because not only was I giving up this dairy, but I was also giving up cooking with olive oil, cooking with salt. And as a professional, salt is everything, right? So I had to learn, and I've taught myself how to bring up flavor, right? Without those things, you know, and without cooking with white sugar or brown sugar. You know, I definitely am a baker, and I've spent the last few years trying to figure out, how do I make a great pie? How do I make a cheesecake? How do I make cookies without those sugar, salt, and oil? And it's all possible.
Yes, it is. And it's all not only possible, but it can also taste good if you know what you're doing.
Amazing. That is the best point ever, because when my friend, I have a really good friend, Wendy, and she was my kind of bridge to this new lifestyle of mine. And she kept saying, it was Thanksgiving time, she says, I'm going to make an apple pie without any sugar or butter. And I said, really? Really? And this was before I had done the Dr. Barnard and the 21-day. And she never got to it, but she kept talking about it. So I said, hand me over that recipe. And so I made it. And I was so amazed, because for the first time, now the dough was a little difficult that I made. It didn't have any butter, and it was made with nut butter, and it kind of wasn't the flaky, fluffy dough that I kind of knew. And there was no white or brown sugar, but I made a paste, a date paste, and you know, but for the first time, I tasted the apples. I said, this is the best pie ever, because why? You're normally used to tasting that butter and the sugar and then the apples. But when you don't use those things, you always taste the food that it is. So that's the whole reason to eat whole food, plant-based, for no other reason whatsoever, besides health.
and I'm not quite there with the SOS, but I use minimal. And I can tell you this, that you're absolutely right. And what I try to tell people and teach people is that when you take away all that extra condiments, sauces, cheeses, you actually could taste the deliciousness of the food, of the vegetables that you're serving and the grains, because they have their own flavors, and everybody's just used to them being covered up with, with the salt and the oil and the sauces.
And exactly, you're exactly right. And now when I go out to eat, I think everything's way too salty, or and there are ways to bring up the food flavor. There are natural ways. I mean, we have simple right here in the kitchen. We have fresh herbs. We have spices, right? And especially in New Mexico, we have spices. We have those peppers, right? And then we have citrus. Citrus is a really great replacement for salt. It brings the flavor up, whether it's the zest or the inside of the citrus. Both work, and I use them all the time.
Well, thank you so much, Carole, for being on the Vegan Pulse. Now, I will have links to all your media, your website, your Facebook, your Instagram, so that people can reach out. But I am very interested in learning a lot more from you.
Thank you for having me on, and be healthy.
Thank you.
Eat well.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Remember to like us on Facebook, check out our website, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.